Hello, Hazard from Reviews here for the first part of this um, movie review. Shall I say, this is more the standard stuff because I'm going to go into spoilers in a follow-up video. But where I'll be a little bit more, do a little bit more fancy, have a bit of music going, but that's for later. But Sonic the Hedgehog 3, yeah, saw it only 3 days ago. Yeah, about 3 days ago. Yeah, 3 days. Um, and I guess I should go over again what I thought of the previous films. The first film, first Sonic the Hedgehog in 2020, it's okay, for what it is, it did its job all right. I mean, it wasn't anything, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. And I think they kind of didn't really, they really, I mean, it could have been a lot worse had they stuck with the original design, but yeah, I mean, I like Ben Schwartz as Sonic, I like Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. The original, it was the story is basically what you think of a anthropomorphic animal living in one day, living in the real world, just and going on a road trip, similar to what James Marsden did with that Illumination film. Oh, yeah, but that was the first film. The second film in 2022, I thought that was really, really, really good. It was a massive step up. They expanded on and made a bit more about, had a bit more elements of the game in it. They improved the amount of references they had in. You had Tails. They brought Colleen O'Shaughnessy back, so she was great as him. Idris Elba was great as Knuckles. Incorporating elements of the games. They threw in Supersonic at the end. Um, of course, they even threw in and other elements of the Sonic lore. And of course, but they still kept the original human characters. And yeah, when it wasn't centered around Eggman, Dr. Robotnik, and Agent Stone with Dr. Robotnik, I couldn't care anything about them. And yeah, yeah, the second film was really good, and I've gone back to the second film a few times actually and rewatched it because the parts are really good, are really strong. Um, I haven't really gone back to the first film that much. But here comes the third film, which we were teased obviously at the end of the second film, and instead of doing what I thought they would do, um, the post-credits scene showed us we're going to do Sonic Adventure 2 by bringing in Shadow the Hedgehog, and which I was, which was a major surprise. I think no one was really expecting Shadow to be the next element, the next character to be brought in from the Sonic games. Of course, I should mention there is the Knuckles TV series, which I haven't really watched outside of a few moments, and from what I've seen, it's just pretty eh. I don't know. I mean, from what I hear, Idris Elba was still good as Knuckles, but everything, and bringing Christopher Lloyd in as Chief Takamaka was a perfect choice. Honestly, I think couldn't pick anyone better for him. But yeah, that was everything else, especially dealing with Wade Whipple and all that. Yeah, boring. Yeah, they did have the actor who played the Hound in Game of Thrones played the villain in that, so there is something. And Carrie Elways was in there, I think. But yeah, from what I can remember. But yeah, I didn't really watch that. Going to the third film, so it seems like every film the scores are getting better, and no doubt about it, this continues the trend. It's now gone from the 60s straight to the 80s, and yeah, it's easy to see why. This is really well put together. I mean, as I said, the story is basically if you've played Sonic Adventure 2, that was the game to introduce Shadow, and it basically follows it up with Shadow being released from cryostasis and is hell bent on destroying the world to get revenge on Maria Robotnik, who is Dr. Eggman's cousin. The obvious difference with this is that, well, there's no Rouge the Bat being one of them. It was a prime character in Adventure 2. And Gerald Robotnik, Eggman's grandfather, is alive and well and is now working with them, which is actually the first time that that both that Ivor Robotnik and Gerald Robotnik have actually interacted face to face in any Sonic media, which is pretty good. And yeah, I'll mention this shortly. And of course, there's obviously Team Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles have to go and stop Shadow and Gerald from, and well, eventually Eggman, uh, Ivor Robotnik from Doctor Eggman from taking over the world. Um, yeah, and I think basically following story, they sort of take this as a bit of a message of not giving into vengeance with Sonic, and I think it works out pretty well here. It's handled well enough, and you know, especially when you get the flashbacks of Shadow's backstory, which they handle pretty well, especially with obviously, I think a lot of people were a bit unsure what they were going to do with the death of Maria, which, you know, as fans of the games know that Maria's death is what turned forces Shadow to go on his revenge spree initially, and is a clear factor in his, past. I was a little nervous as to whether they were going to do it, and eh, um, I think they handled pretty well. In fact, elements that they've included of the dark elements of SA2 and insanely over the top forced darkness of Shadow's own game, which I did play this year actually. I actually bought Shadow the Hedgehog for the GameCube and gave it a go, and yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's not bad, but it can be ridiculous at times, and controls really can be a bit. Some of the level design and controls aren't that good. But yeah, they handle pretty well. Shadow's backstory in general. Keanu Reeves is really good as Shadow. I should mention there were rumors initially before Reeves was announced that Hayden Christensen was going to play Shadow, and I was actually kind of hoping for that originally. I was just thinking, I kind of wanted this. I don't know why. I just thought having whiny Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen, just doing his being, basically seeing Anakin Skywalker and Shadow the Hedgehog. I just wanted to see that, but well, whatever. Keanu does a good job. He's. I was a little I was nervous going into it because obviously, I have played the Sonic X Shadow Generations, and through the recent DLC update, there's a level based on the film in Tokyo, on the Tokyo sequence, and Keanu actually voiced a Shadow for that level, and I don't know, he didn't sound that invested. I don't know. Maybe it was just like budget. And he wasn't really he just sort of yeah was just doing it for paycheck for that part, or just I don't know. But I just kind of you know would have liked a bit more. I wonder if we're going to get more levels actually based on the film now that it's coming out. I mean, at the time, I mean, in the lead up to this, we only knew about the Tokyo sequence was the part everyone was showing, outside of a few elements of them going to space, which does happen in the games. I just kind of think that they're, and I kind of would like to see them actually start to maybe make more levels and include it in as DLC. That would be really good. Jim Carrey, I mean, he's still on top. I mean, glad to see him come. He chose not to. He was given the 24-karat gold ink script that he asked for to come out to convince him not to retire. Jeez. If that's actually true, like, if Kerry can actually show that, I'll be great with that. I want to see it. Just an image or anything. Um, yeah, he's good as Dr. Eggman still. And of course we see him we actually do see Eggman in his classic outfit now, which is the outfit we all know from the modern games, which is good. Him as Gerald. When I saw Gerald in the trailers, I was thinking at the very least I was going to get that character was going to play him very similar to Count Olaf in Lemony Snicket: A Series of Unfortunate Events. And as you remember in my recent review of The Grinch, I said I'm not a big fan of Carrie as Count Olaf, and probably think it's one of his worst performances. But I was thinking maybe this is what I could maybe this could be a better version, and whatever. And I kind of have to say, even though Perry's voice for Gerald sounds similar to how he played Olaf. He did a pretty good job actually. I thought it was a major improvement, and I liked it. Yeah, he did well. And the other actors all do good jobs. Ben Schwartz is still great as Sonic. I really hope he gets to play him in a game soon. Colleen O'Shaughnessy still goes Tails. I mean, she's been voicing Tails in the game since 2014 with the ill-fated Sonic Boom spin-off series. Yeah, and Idris Elba still good as Knuckles. Um, with the I'll get to the other actors shortly. As I said, the banter between the characters also is pretty good. The references are handled really well. And I do appreciate where I was starting to hear some more of the music from the classic game from the games actually show up in the films. I mean, I was, uh, I mean, I know this could be considered a spoiler, but I mean, it's not a spoiler because it was already confirmed that Live and Learn was going to be incorporated in some capacity in the film, and they used it at the perfect time. I was so pleased to hear that, and they did use it. The visual effects all look good. The characters all look great, and the action scenes are handled well. The humor has improved a lot. There were some good moments that make you chuckle when it isn't even more than just anything to do with Jim Carrey. The other actors all do a good job, and especially their banter between the characters. Um, I'll appreciate that they cut out a lot of the original human characters from the first two films. I'm just glad they cut them all out. There are two that sort of return, but I'm not going to give away what how they handle it until I get to the spoiler video. Though with that said, there is one human character I would have kind of liked to show up. I don't know. And in the mid-credit scene, again, not going to mention until I get to it, but it was really good and I cheered a lot. In fact, even the post-credit scene has also handled it well. I mean, this is the first time there's two credit sequences in the films, so yeah. Um, the the problems I have with this are very minor, to be fair. I mean, okay, I should mention some of the jokes aren't really that good as the emotional moments, because I think you can guess that some characters will die, but I don't really care too much. Uh, Gun itself, I was impressed with how they handled it and how they introduced them in the second film. Considering how important they are to Shadow's backstory and Gerald, I was hoping for a bit more of them, especially the commander. That was just very, very disappointing, especially considering the commander is tied in the games for if you've played Shadow the Hedgehog, and they've even brought it up in the animated shorts for the release of Sonic of Shadow Generations, that the commander grew up on the Ark with Maria and Gerald and Shadow in the past. And it is shown that he does care for Maria much like he did in the games. I mean, the difference is in this is that uh, um, the commander was actually a middle-aged adult at the time of the Shadow incident, and now, well, and compared to when he was just a child in the games, which is a little bit strange, considering Shadow's been asleep, much like in the games, for 50 years. So, yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical, so I'm going to say maybe he was 20 in, at the time of the incident, and now he's in his 70s. Yeah. Yeah, but I thought he could have been used to handle better. I do think Gunn could play a bit more of a role coming up, but but I'm going to talk about it later. And but that leads into my oh, actually no, there's one more thing. Tom and Matt, yeah, James Marsden and Tika Sumpter's characters, they're still the weakest. I'm grateful now that we're getting more, as more characters from the games are getting introduced. Their screen time is diminishing, which is probably for the best. But I didn't really care too much. I still don't care about them. And I guess the big thing I should quit, it's a bit of a nitpick is, and I'm gonna get this into, is I think after seeing the mid-credit sequence, I think I can kind of guess where this film series is heading towards. Because as I stand, there will be a full film, might be another TV series, and there's supposed to be a fifth film. After the fifth, I don't know if there's anything else planned. As far as I know, there isn't. So now I know what the fourth film will be like, what will involve. I think I can guess what the fifth film is, and that is kind of a bit of a problem that I think I can. I mean, I'm not the expert on this. It could end up being something different, the fifth film, but I think I just feel like that's the direction it probably will lead to. But again, I'm not going to go into that till I get to the spoiler video, which should come out shortly. I just figured I'd get this out before. I'm going to get that spoiler video done, you know, well, pretty much after Christmas, which is tomorrow. But yeah, it can be a nitpick, but it can be a positive, but it can be a con if I'm pro and a con. So it's just going to have to wait and see what happens when, well, I guess what comes out before 2027, which is the estimated date for the fourth film, which I kind of hope I could get. No, never mind. And well, there's a Paramount Plus series released in between. So yeah, but pros to this, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a good film, and you know, it's good to see it. These films are continuing to grow in supporters and critical ratings. It's an 8.3 out of 10 has stars for me. I enjoyed it, and I think most families will enjoy it too. And as I said, tune in. I'll be back in only a couple of days to do the spoiler video, where I will delve into a fair bit of spoilers, and I will make it the video a bit more special. I'll include some clips and all that images. But yeah, and some music. But that's then. In the meantime, this is Hatsa from Rescue Out, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas as well. Ciao.